That's funny. I just put we're gonna talk about like how the week was holiday, and then
Oh yeah,
just chat about ourselves. So how things are going, the huge.
good, good. My voice is starting to come around a little bit. Dude, woke up.
I woke up like not being able to talk either. It was crazy.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And then there's Jenny. Hey Jenny.
Jenny. Sorry about that. We're gonna get to explaining what was going on.
All right, you ready?
Yep.
Feeling pretty good?
Good to go.
Right.
Yeah, I told you, dude. I feel great. I'm gonna work out after this, but it's just my freaking voice, dude.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for tapping into some Untapped Keg, our sobriety and mental health podcast, part of the Believe Podcast Network. I am one of your hosts, RJ Zimmerman, here with my good friend, Montee. How you doing, big guy?
I'm good. I told you I feel great. Feel rejuvenated, really. Just doing this crazy workout diet regimen that I'm on. But just trying to get over this little sickness, this little cold that I got. I think this sinus infection that I'm just passing back and forth with my family is seems to be getting stronger.
The hot potato. Now it's your turn.
Absolutely. How you doing, man?
I actually got like uninterrupted sleep last night for longer than 2 hours at a time. So I feel really good. For a little while there, I felt like I had a newborn again, where like every couple hours I was waking up, and it wasn't even for the kids that I was waking up. It was just, yeah, I just can't sleep through the night. And I go through this from time to time. I get this, and it's not insomnia because I can fall asleep. It's just I can't stay asleep. Maybe that's a different form of insomnia, but it makes me, I don't know. It makes me irritable. I mean that's for sure, but. It's like I could sleep for 12 hours and I wouldn't have enough. And it's odd. It feels weird. It's hard to explain. But last night I actually was able to sleep for like 4 hours, woke up for a little bit, rolled over and went back to sleep for like another 3. So I'm feeling pretty good right now. Nice. I feel like I'll be able to take it through the day, which is nice. And I mean, you saw how much coffee I consume, so
that's ridiculous.
There's a reason for that.
It's ridiculous. We got a lot in common. I told you I woke up. I went to sleep at like 1 a.m. A little too late for me, but then woke up at 4. Then went back to sleep for like 2 hours and woke up at 6:30, and just stayed awake. I just irritability, can't stay asleep. And I think that has a lot to do with my phone, right? Scrolling on my phone,
right.
Scrolling through Instagram, scrolling through Twitter, just not decompressing and getting away from my phone entirely. And so, I don't know, man. I don't know, but doing well, man. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. The trip to Virginia, well, for me,
right? You guys came to visit for a week, so you're here. You were here Saturday through Friday, and your parents and sister were here Saturday through Saturday. It was nice. It was a really nice trip. Or visit, I should say, because I wasn't on the trip, but
yeah.
How was it for you?
Yeah, it went well, man. I think it was good to, obviously it's always great seeing new areas, seeing new parts of the country. I think that's important for folks who especially may feel a little more trapped than usual, just due to the pandemic, due to restrictions, due to anxieties surrounding COVID, right?
Yeah.
Me right now, thank goodness, I got a bunch of mucus coming out. So it apparently, right, a bunch of mucus means, you're clear of COVID, maybe. maybe not. But again, a lot of anxiety surrounding it. So some people get a little nervous traveling and stuff. So for me, it was awesome to kind of get to Virginia to see you guys, obviously see you, see my sister, my nephews, understand how you guys' lives are going out there.
Let's be real. To see the nephews. I'm like, seventh on the list, and there's only 4 of us.
I mean, yeah, it's good to see everybody and just be with the family and kind of really just get away. It was a good Thanksgiving, man. It was a good Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah, I really don't got much from that. I mean, it was awesome seeing the boardwalk, seeing some of the ships, right?
Yeah.
And again, just DC. We went to DC too. Again, I'm gonna be all over the place, you guys.
That's all right. This podcast episode is us. Like, we'll be interacting with chat, like when they're there. Feel free to ask questions. But like, it's just gonna be about the holidays, kind of what we were feeling going through, maybe a little bit more about kind of what we're doing in our lives and transitions and stuff. Because we haven't had this episode. Like, we were going to like a month ago, and then we ended up not, and then we had another serious episode. So this one,
we're getting a bunch of guests, dude.
Right,
we're growing.
Right,
we're growing.
And it's exciting. It's for those who don't know, in September I moved to the Virginia Beach area, Virginia Beach, Norfolk area. So this was your first time out seeing it, and that was exciting. And it's just, you're right about experiencing other cultures, and it's not just other cultures, it's other cultures within like your country, right? You don't have to go to another country to experience a different culture. Sometimes it's just driving down the road. Like, we took that day trip to DC, and that's a totally different culture than even what we have here in Virginia Beach and Norfolk. So it's nice, it's exciting, but I mean, it kind of is, though, like a city that extends, right? When you're traveling, like, that's the difference between the East Coast and Middle America. Like, you don't have the farm fields in between.
True.
You don't have the acres and acres of farm fields between cities. So it's different, but I was glad that you guys came and experienced it. I was a little worried how it was going to be, because you guys stayed at our house, and we have a lot smaller house than we used to. So I was like, is there going to be enough space? But we made do, and it never felt like we were all on top of each other. So that was nice.
It worked out.
Yeah.
It all worked out, man. I think, again, with people possibly feeling trapped, people messaging me, just feeling like this real Groundhog's Day, right? It seems like we're experiencing this Groundhog's Day where you look on Twitter, right? You look at the news. Yeah. You're seeing some of the same stuff, right? We're going back into travel bans. We're going back into people freaking out about masks, all of the above, kind of going back to March of 2020, Groundhog's Day. And again, I guess just speaking for myself, and I know a lot of people don't have the luxury, of traveling, right? Mm-hmm. Traveling is a luxury, and I understand that, and I'm grateful for it. But I still, from my own personal experience, I kind of needed that to see other cultures, to see other types of people, understand how they're thriving. Which I didn't really dive too deep into the culture those 6 days or what have you, but I think just being able to just experience it, to feel it, just at least to be around it for a little bit, really showed me, again, just how different other places can be just right around the corner. Because you can't get stuck in your town, in your state, in your bubble, in your environment. And most people don't even understand that they are stuck in a sense, because you don't know what you don't know. That's why we encourage people to figure out new hobbies. Traveling can be an expensive hobby, but if you got the wherewithal to do it, highly recommend it, because it can open you up to new things, broaden your horizon, and just pretty cool stuff. And
if you're open to trying new things too, you can find ways to make it more affordable, right? Like, I mean, Spirit is cheap. Speaking of airlines, let's talk talk about the trip back and why we're a little late this morning, because this is gonna be a good one.
This is fun. Mentioning Spirit is well, yeah. Well, we don't fly Spirit, but yeah, man. Good old Delta, right? Smooth flight to Norfolk, Virginia, Milwaukee to Atlanta to Norfolk. I'm talking super smooth, right? Comfortable seats, getting my butt whooped against the computer and chess, right? Impossible to beat them, but still having a good time. On the way back, same legs, same city that I'm gonna lay over in, back to Milwaukee. Take off at 5:35 a.m. out of Norfolk, land in Atlanta at about 7:35 a.m. Boom, smooth, right? Get off the plane. I'm like, that was easy. Go to the carousel. And I'm sitting there waiting for my bag for about 35 minutes to 40 minutes. It was like 7 to 8 of us. And we're like, okay, maybe the other carousels, have our bags. So we go and check every other carousel. Nothing. Go talk to the baggage lady, right? We're like, hey, well, here's my baggage ticket, my number, all that stuff. And she checks and she's like, oh, your bags are actually on their way to Fort Lauderdale right now from Atlanta. But they're going to be sent back to Atlanta. Then up here to, no, excuse me. That was when I landed in Milwaukee. Yeah, because I didn't check my bags, obviously. Didn't go to the carousel in Atlanta. Landed in Milwaukee and obviously was looking for my bags. And that was the lady, the baggage claim lady in Milwaukee, excuse me, was saying that. And we're like, where's my bags? And she was like, oh, sorry, on their way to Fort Lauderdale. But they're going to fly back to Atlanta, then back here to Milwaukee. And I'm like, they just said it so casually. I'm like, it's not like you they accidentally switched my seat on the plane. My bags are heading towards Southern Florida right now, and I'm in Milwaukee. And I'm just like, my goodness. So,
and it's not like you live in Milwaukee, like 20 minutes from the airport, right? Like,
exactly.
You have a little bit over an hour drive to get home.
To Madison, exactly. So I'm like, this is super inconvenient. My passport was in my bag. Obviously all my clothes, my jackets. So I was literally just stark naked in a sense, really. And long story short, I was like, well, I got to get going. So I caught the Badger bus to Madison because I had to get back to Madison. But my family was landing in Milwaukee the following day. So I had them grab the bags. I had work yesterday for about 9 hours with some other stuff and didn't get finished until about 9:30, 10 o'clock. So didn't get a chance to swing by my parents to grab my bag, to grab my webcam and my mic, go grab my webcam or go grab my bags this morning, get back over here to my place, open it up, realize my mic and webcam's not even in there. It's still at your house, RJ.
I'm looking at it right now. You text me and I didn't even think anything of it. I looked at it yesterday. I looked at it this morning. Didn't think anything of it. And you text me and you're like, hey, you called it. I think my stuff is still at your place. And I'm like, yep, I'm looking at it right now. And it just didn't trigger that. Oh no, but that's okay. We may do. We'll make do some more. And
cell phone, right?
Part of life. Cell phone. That's right. We're just, two amateurs trying to make it look easy, and we go one at a time. So
true.
We have a new chatter in here who chimed in, and so I'd like to read what he put. They put Roddy put the best place to experience culture that's life altering and life threatening is Africa.
Ooh, what country?
That's so I asked that. They haven't responded yet, but that is definitely on my bucket list, is going to Africa and going to,
absolutely.
I would like to experience, Ghana. I'd like to experience Nigeria, but then also going down and experiencing South Africa too, just to see how that culture is and what they've kind of made in the past, 30 years.
How they've colonized around the diamonds.
Well,
and the apartheid.
Well, how they've moved on and created a different life since apartheid, right? And if it actually has happened, That's something I don't know. That would be interesting to see. So
I'm only messing with you.
Right. But I get it, like how have they actually changed the culture, or has it kind of become the United States of America there? Right. Like, I don't know. That would be interesting to see, I think.
It would be. Most definitely would be. I agree with, what's that person's name?
Roddy.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely agree with Roddy on that. That's a bucket list item for myself. I'm Nigerian and Ghanaian, my heritage. I'm obviously BIPOC, Black Indigenous person of color here in America, but my heritage dates back to Nigeria and Ghana. Not really sure which parent is which, but obviously 100% African. But yeah, that is something that I want to experience. Absolutely. 100%. I think it's important for folks to, it's kind of like that. You don't need college, right? You don't need college to be successful. But I guess the one perk of going to college, right?
Yep.
Is kind of getting outside of your social bubble, getting outside of your that high school group of friends that is sort of like an echo chamber, right? Of your life, and experiencing new people from all different walks of life. And just understanding different ways of shaping your perspective. Yeah, your perspective on life, cultures, etc. I think you can get that a lot from Africa.
And just speaking of getting outside your bubble, like that's hard, right? And like we understand that. I mean, I have nobody here that I know except for one family, and that's it. Like, so I have to start from scratch, like building connections of doing all this. And for someone who seems extroverted sometimes, I'm actually more of an introvert. Like, sometimes it takes a lot to get me out of my shell. Once I'm out of my shell, I'm fine. But like, I almost feel like I have to be talked to first. Like, I will sit there and I will not really say anything. I'll just nod and be like, yeah, sure. And then when somebody talks to me, like, it gives me permission to speak almost. And then I'll start talking. But usually I sit there until then.
Let's unpack that.
Oh,
let's unpack that. I know there's a lot to unpack there, because I'm somewhat similar. I'm not that extreme, and I don't mean that negatively, right? That extreme of an introvert. Obviously, it's a broad spectrum. But why do you think that is?
Why?
Yeah, and that's kind of probably a broad response to this.
Some of it is, let's see here. Some of it is just like saving myself embarrassment. Like, I don't want to say anything embarrassing or like, no, that's a lie. What it is it's more coming from like a manners perspective. Like I was raised with pretty strict manners, and so like inserting myself into a conversation, I feel I could come off like it's not very polite. So like I wait for someone to, I think that this is where it comes from at least, but like I'll wait for someone to interact with me so that I know like, oh, I'm not inserting myself into this conversation, like I'm welcome to it or whatever. But that's not always the case too, because sometimes I will insert myself if I know the answer to something. Right? So like I'll chirp in, but I'll just like chirp in and then shut my mouth. I won't go any further. I'll just if it's a group of people that I don't know or haven't had much interaction with beforehand, I should say. So that's kind of yeah, go for it.
Like a confidence thing?
Yeah, maybe a little bit, right? Maybe a little bit in there.
I'm just same boat.
I don't feel like I could bring value to the conversation sometimes too. It depends on what's happening around.
So this isn't like a therapy session for you, but I'm agreeing.
Yeah.
Somewhat similar. You've known me long enough.
Yeah.
And my question to you is, do you think that has a lot to do with, I already know my answer, but for if I was asked this question.
Liquid courage.
That before that, right? Before the self-medicating came about, do you think that is because, growing up, was your voice not heard?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And you had to show other ways of expressing yourself, and which was anger or extreme excitement or extreme sadness to express yourself because your voice wasn't heard. So then once you got old enough, you didn't have that attribute, that characteristic of being comfortable with your voice being heard, being comfortable with your voice. So you self-medicated.
Yeah.
Self-medicated. And I mean, that's me. I'm preaching to the choir. So you're not.
Right.
It's most definitely me.
I mean, yeah, that is a lot of truth, right? Like, I was not as good of friends with, that like between other people were. So like they'd always have conversations over the top of me, or like, when they would interact, like I would almost long for that deep sense of friendship that they had with each other, right? Like I didn't just have like a few friends that I was really close with. I was friends with everybody. Right. But then in doing that, I sometimes kind of let go of some of the connections that I would have with a person to like also invite another person in. And then I would miss that deep personal connection. Like this was a young kid. And then like in high school, I found that, but, yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's funny that you say that because, Jenny actually put me onto a podcast I just started listening to that I was going to bring up, and Room to Grow, with, Dana Huff, I think it is. Let me look to check to make sure I have this right. Yeah, so I was listening to it. Room to Go with Emily Go. I think I'm saying that right. And I was listening to it, and it's like the way that they touch on some stuff. It's like an arrow in my heart. Like they're talking right to me, right? Like I was listening to an episode. They were talking about men and how, as men growing up, we're expected to be great at something. We're expected to have mental toughness. We're expected to be physically gifted, right? We're expected to be intelligent. So people who are good at these things, who were achievers at a young age, they never had to find themselves. And then as they get older and these things start to disappear and they have to find themselves, it becomes tough. It becomes tougher, right? And I feel like that's you and me. Like that is you and me, right?
Yeah, that's like, my book.
I didn't know who RJ was until, and even like during this podcast, I've gone through kind of identity crises where I'm trying to figure out who I am. So now I have these 2 kids and I have this relationship, trying to figure out who I am, whether I'm worthy of the love that they give. And like adding that on top of it, like that's sometimes puts me on my head and I spin, right? Like, it's different. It's different. And like, I was listening to this and it's like, I go through these times where I'm very okay with the person that I am, but then I go through these times of an identity crisis where it's, who am I? What is RJ? Like, I think that's kind of why I took a step back from being such a heavy fan of sports. Just trying to figure out who I am outside of that. Like, because I have been so heavily into sports for so long, but who else is RJ? Like, sometimes I'm still trying to figure that out, but I think that's the con of it all, isn't it? That we're all trying to figure it out. It's just right. Some people are more okay with that than others.
I always view it as, first off, it's weird, right? This is our first episode where one of us is sick, right? In over a year,
yeah,
right. But I view it, man, and I'm agreeing with you absolutely. But I view it as like with what you just stated right there, if we had all the answers, right, then the process of growth would feel like a chore as opposed to a gift. Sounds super cliche, but again, I'm going to say that again. If we had all the answers, then this process of growth would feel like a chore,
Right.
as opposed to a gift. We have the ability, right, to kind of look at our game plan as to how we got to where we are right now and be like, ooh, okay, granted, I'm still fortunate. I got 10 toes, 2 feet, 2 kneecaps. I'm an able-bodied person, right? Beautiful baby boy, beautiful family, beautiful nephews. I mean, I got all of that. But obviously there's some things in my life that I wish I would have done differently. That may have placed me on a different track than I am now. But again, I think by us having that ability to utilize hindsight is a gift. Most definitely is a gift. So right there with you just explaining everything is a gift in itself for you today to kind of digest that, right? Moving forward, it's like, okay, the awareness, the self-awareness of knowing that you are in the process of figuring yourself out is a way better position to be in than before, right? The RJ who never even got to the point of being in the process of trying to figure out who you are. And so I kind of view it also as a plant in a pot, right? At some point, you're going to have to get a bigger pot for those roots. Those roots are going to outgrow that pot, right? But certain traumatic moments in your life, right, will make those roots smash up against that pot. You can still function. That plant can still live, right? It's going to get really crowded and crunched up in there. But at some point in the future, that plant's going to start dying.
Yeah.
Your person, your soul, your spirit, what have you, whatever you believe in, is going to start withering away and dying if you don't outgrow your environment that is toxic, that's bringing you down. Long story short, I think it's just important, being self-aware of where you're at in the process. And again, I'm speaking to myself here too, is a step that most people have yet to even take. And they're in their 40s and their 50s and in their 60s.
Well, and I think it's important that you say, you're speaking to yourself here, because when we talk about this stuff, sometimes I feel like, and this is both of us, not just you, right? This is me too. Like, it can seem like we're coming off like we have all the answers, or like when I talk about myself, like I can speak about it, but because I'm talking, and sometimes I sound more confident than I am when I talk.
Right.
It can sound like I'm pompous or like I'm arrogant or like, well, it's this way, or like I have it figured out. But no, like no to all of it, right? Like I
have no idea.
I'm okay with being wrong about things. Some things I'm not okay with being wrong about, right? Like let's talk about, like football, right? So I have problems saying that I'm not right. Like if I see something in football that I swear is right, do it my way, it's gonna work. Or like even like basketball, baseball. But that like went into my job too. So like when I was a lineman, if I thought I was right about something, I would have conviction and I would be stubborn and I would be, nope, I'm right. And then sometimes I'd be proven wrong. That hubris. So trying to remove the hubris from it can come off as arrogant. And you're absolutely 100% like blowing my mind, right? With a lot of this, like you're right about that.
I think with what you were just saying right there too, right, about not having all the answers and being at a point in your life where you can, if someone asks you a question and you don't know the answer to it, and you say, well, I don't know the answer to that. I think the 2 signs of an intelligent person is one, if you're able to communicate with somebody in their own language of a topic, and putting it in a way to where they can understand it. One. And 2, if you're capable of truly being able to say, I don't know the answer to that, knowing that you're going to be able to find the answer to it and tell that person what that answer is. So I think, again, we don't have all the answers. We will never have all the answers. But where we are right now in our journey, dude, in our recovery journey, I think we are capable of providing folks with I guess the right steps, right, to get to this point. The right steps. I know there's a million ways up the hill, right? But if you're,
I mean, at least you know what worked with us, and then maybe some things that worked with other people too. We can at least give a platform for that, and hopefully it'll work for you. But if it doesn't, that's okay. Hey,
right.
You are who you are, and you have to figure out what works for you.
Yeah, I wanted to. I told you I wanted to. I wasn't expecting to go down that route and unpack that. You know, those feelings, because I a lot of people deal with that. Not a lot of confidence in their voice, too afraid of saying the wrong things. And when many people ask me, how do you do the public speaking? How do you talk? Well, I always tell myself about 95% of those listening aren't really actively listening.
Yeah.
Are really just either waiting to respond, unfortunately, or just being present, which is nothing wrong with that at all. But you do have those 5%, right, that are digesting your words and really taking them in. But at the end of the day, everybody's a little nervous of saying the wrong thing. Everybody's a little nervous of hurting anyone's feelings. And I think if you get to the point, what, go ahead.
Sometimes you got to crack an egg, right? And we might say something that makes you angry, that makes you kind of lean back a little bit. And maybe we are wrong. Like, we're people. We want to provide a space to grow because we needed that space for ourselves to grow. And I'm not saying we're done growing, but like, we didn't have that space before. So we're trying to help create it, right? And I'm definitely not done growing. I definitely want to keep growing, but I'm growing differently, I think, than some people would like. You know, I don't just want to grow intellectually. I want to figure out who RJ is. I want to figure out the emotions that I feel and how to verbalize them. I'm getting better at it, but I'm still not great. But like, sometimes you have to break through somebody's shell to get them to see that what you're saying is not like insulting or demeaning or something like that, but like, you have to see that you're being self-destructive. You have to see that what you're doing is hurting others around you. You have to be able to get through that. And it's okay if we say something that seems controversial at the time. For me, as long as A, we're willing to grow from it if we're wrong and admit we're wrong, and B, sometimes we got to hold true to our convictions that we're right and we're sorry that it hurts.
Speaking of breaking through the shell, cracking an egg, what I thought about the other day is, did Humpty Dumpty die after he fell?
Well,
why does the story end right there? What happened after he fell and cracked himself up? Way off topic, but
all
it just
the
came
king's
to my mind right
forces
now.
and all the king's men came to put Humpty together again.
But did they?
No,
I guess
he's
he did.
dead. You just say that to the kids so they don't know that.
Why are all lullabies and why are they so dark?
Well, I mean, look at like the real one, like the Brothers Grimm tales, right? Like,
Little times.
that's where they came from. So like, you had to be brutally honest about it in order to keep people safe, because if you were not present, if you weren't conscious of what's going on around you, you're about to be taken out, whether it be by a human. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of truth to that. Like, we're trying to beat people over the head with the realness, and they still don't want to listen to it. So, yeah, I like what Jenny's saying about, we all think we're aware, but she has been more mindful of her mindfulness and trying to be intentional with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Mindfulness.
That's something that I'm trying to be with my kids, is more intentional with my parenting, right? I don't just want to scream and yell and punish and do stuff, but like trying to pick and choose spots on where is a good place to make a point. Where's a good place to let them be kids? Where's a good place to, move on a little bit? So I appreciate that. And then Jenny's also talking about we learn kindness and grace so that we can look and determine what to do next. Mm-hmm. Even if our past is bad, or like we do something like mean or not great 5 minutes ago, like all we have is what we can do moving forward. What can we do next? And that's all we can do.
Right. Yeah. I mean, dude, it's life. It's life. Life is difficult because, there's only so much we can control. And most traumatic moments are out of our control. But we know those moments are unfortunately inevitable. And that's just, didn't mean to kind of rain on this parade, but I think it's just that self-awareness, understanding, mindfulness, just like Jenny said, right? Kind of placing yourself in that state of mind, using that tool, having that tool in your tool shed in a sense, for difficult times, because difficult times are gonna always happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I sent out a tweet yesterday about that feeling of aloneness is the most dangerous, right? And it's not that you're physically alone. It could happen when you are physically alone, but that's not necessarily when it happens. It's when you feel like nobody understands, when you feel like you're trying to take on the world by yourself. You just can't do right. Like it's all working against you. And, I don't know. That's something that I was kind of going through yesterday.
Why would you ever feel like you need to take on the world? That's kind of like again, I'm just gonna be honest with like the martyr.
Yeah.
Experience.
And I have that a lot, right? I have a feeling that I have to take things on by myself, because that way I don't have to burden anybody. Like, I don't know. I got it from growing up, because I felt like I had to silence my emotions, right? Like I had to carry them by myself, because nobody else in my family honestly cared about how I was feeling, right? Like that's to put it blunt, that's what it came down to. Like what I was feeling didn't matter. It's what I was doing. So it was like, put those aside. And then to grow up with that toxic masculinity too, you got to push everything down, push it down, push it down, act logically. Don't act on your emotions, because that's when you make mistakes, right? That's, and that's partially sports too. Hot in the heart, cool in the head kind of a thing. But when if you can keep your heart from being hot, then you're going to always be cool in your head. Take that to life. Like you're just going to be stuck there. I don't know why this sense of loneliness comes over me. And it is dangerous. Like it does. That's when I can start to taste the beer again, right? That's when, and then I'll see a commercial or something, and it's like, ooh, that would taste really good right now, right? Or like I just want to turn off the emotions. I don't want to feel it anymore. Right. I want to escape. It's just it. I don't know how to put it into words. Why that sense of loneliness happens the way that it does. It comes and goes. It's kind of like when what's the word I'm looking? I also just have problems being vulnerable because I have been hurt by the people I've been closest to so many times when I have tried to be vulnerable. So then you just clam up because it's almost, it is a self-fulfilling prophecy at some point too, that when you share at inopportune times and you know it's an inopportune time, it's like, you know that's going to happen. So then when it does, like, it's like 3 times more because you knew it was going to happen, but you tried it anyway, kind of a thing. I just, that feeling of aloneness just is.
I mean, you don't need an answer right now. I mean,
yeah.
Then again, never want for that to feel like I'm personally attacking you or anything. Sorry, my voice.
That's all right. It's all right. Both things are all right. I don't think you're personally attacking me. So,
because I'm very, very similar. Not with the whole. I a lot of my problems came about really once I got out. Once I kind of went to college and started experimenting with some of the wrong groups.
right.
That's when a lot of that happened. But I get it though, man. I get it. I understand, and I think it's important for folks who are listening in on this to understand too. Like, again, we're still trying to figure it out. We still have bad days. I'm struggling with sleep.
Yeah.
I'm struggling with staying asleep, which I think is obviously impacting my physical health right now. And then obviously it's going to start impacting my mental health. It's almost, I can't get both in sync, right? When I wasn't working out, when I wasn't drinking a gallon of water a day, I've been doing this now for 2 weeks, sleeping like 10 hours, knocked out. Now all of a sudden I can't stay asleep. Just got to get them both in sync. But again, it's an everlasting process. And I think the important part, again, that we can always kind of hang our hats on, and again, not tooting our horns with Untapped Keg or anything, but we're doing it, man. You know, and we're not perfect. We're not right. We're not trying to act like trailblazers or anything, but from March of 2020 to now, and we're doing it. We're creating this safe space and just throwing it all out there. This is us. Take it or leave it.
And, you know, when you only see us for an hour and it's in a conversation like last week with Derek, like it seems like, oh, these guys have it together. They're thinking about this stuff, right? But like I'm 8 years in and I still have cravings. Like that's the reality. That's what it is. And it comes at weird times. It can come in happy times. It can come in sad times. And sometimes we just like to wallow in our despair. At least I do. Sometimes I want to wallow in it. I don't know why, but I want to splash around in my despair and get it all over everything and just be like, it's okay to be sad sometimes. And it's okay to want to be sad, as odd as that sounds. Maybe that's healthy sometimes.
People deal with every type of emotion in different, most definitely in different ways. The game of football taught me, even though I'm not perfect at it, but to not feel sorry for myself. Because at the end of the day, and this might sound rude, this might sound harsh, but this just goes to show you how what is being taught in the game of football. End of the day, no one cares. Work harder. Just what it is. Nobody cares. Work harder. It's literally a saying. And you know, that bleeds over into your real world life. And that's where that suppressing of your emotions, you know, all that stuff, because you think that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And then on top of that, we can just talk about how the lack of seriousness with men's health in America. right?
Oh yeah. And that's not just America. That's like global.
Right. And then we can even go deeper into a specific demographic, black men's mental health. You know, it's relatively non-existent. So
there's no relatively, it is like non-existent.
And so there's a lot of work to be done for all demographics. But I don't know, man. I mean, again, I appreciate you. I really appreciate you sharing that stuff, man. Really, really peeling the layers back right there. And I think you deserve that. I think our listeners deserve that too.
How Jenny made a really good point. Like sometimes you need to hold space for the not good emotions. Like we can't just put them away. Sometimes, like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I want to wallow in it because it's what I deserve, right? It's almost like complex. Survivor's guilt a little bit. Almost like I don't know. I lived a pretty charmed life, so maybe I don't deserve happiness, right? Like maybe happiness is for the people who've had it tough. Sometimes that's how I feel a little bit. And like you said, I definitely have like that martyrdom. Like I will put myself in bad positions so other people don't have to be in those positions. And that's, I don't know. That's just something that I have to trigger on or work with and be truthful about. But here's my question for you.
Yeah.
So you came all the way out here to Virginia and you played a PS5 for the first time, even though you have one in your apartment. What was that like for you?
Sitting right here. I'm hooked up and everything, dude. Sitting right here. Got the.
So we played. What did we play? Three games. Which one was your favorite?
Was it Returnal? Returnal, or is that the game? No.
Yep, Returnal.
Okay, I'm thinking. Okay, Returnal. Returnal is easily my favorite. Easily. I like the gameplay. I like the feel of it. It's got that nostalgic PlayStation vibe to it, right? Mm-hmm. That Devil May Cry. You know, the unlimited. Maybe it was unlimited. I can't remember, but the unlimited double pistols or whatever. The monsters coming up out the ground, the puzzles, all that stuff. I really, really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed the mechanics. Right. That's really the
gameplay. Yeah, that's what I told you too. Like that gameplay loop is just right. That is what that game's about, and it's awesome.
Right. That's really the world that we're getting into right now with video games. I don't really play a lot of video games anymore. I mean, I was playing Rocket League a lot, but I told you I go through spurts. Mm-hmm. I go through phases, and I think I'm getting out of it right now. Video games, just because I was spending so much time, 3 hours, playing a video game, and I get it. It's a hobby. I understand it, but I've been reading, working out, cooking, just doing other stuff that I don't know, help me progress in life. Yeah. And I again, but I like video games, but I'm kind of, again, I think I'm coming out of that phase, and that phase will come back again.
Yeah,
and all that stuff. But I think all in all, though, that game Returnal, was a nice game. Absolutely.
I'm glad you liked it, because I do like that game. I haven't beat it yet. I'm still on the third boss. It is not easy, or I'm on the fourth boss. I beat 2. I'm on the third boss. I beat 2. I'm on the third boss, and it's so, I like those games that are kind of hard, but you just like learn the loops, and you learn how you can use them to your advantage, or you learn how to get into a rhythm with them, right? And like that helps me too. Like I when I'm in those games, I feel like I'm doing something. And it's not, sometimes I like the community of playing multiplayer games too, right? But like single player games, they help my mind get into a rhythm and like break down and decompress. And that's what I like them for sometimes. Not all the time. Sometimes I like watching TV shows. Sometimes I like watching movies to help me decompress. But like, you know, sometimes video games can feel like a chore, and like they're called video games, but sometimes it does feel like that. Like, oh yeah, I really want to play Sekiro, but I want to play it on stream, and like I keep feeling like that's such a chore to do, even though it's probably not going to be. It's going to be perfectly fine, and it's going to be really, really good. But I have to get over that mindset of it's going to be a chore. So, you know, what else have you been doing? So you've been reading,
yeah, man. Again,
cooking.
I'm gonna get back in that phase of video games heavy. I mean, I was just in that phase for like 6 months, heavy. I'm talking every night, Rocket League, Apex, FIFA, Warzone, Madden. I mean, literally all those games. I would go through. I would play each game for about 3 hours, and I'll be able to go through all those games that I just mentioned in like 3 days, of 3 hours at a time, and then restart it. I mean, I was in it. But other than you know, cooking, reading, working out, school, of course, right? School's been taking a bunch of my bandwidth. Semester ends in about 3 weeks, so I'm looking forward to that. Been crushing it. I'm scheduled to walk in May, so that's pretty awesome.
Congratulations!
Yeah, man,
that's awesome.
I already picked my classes for next semester. You know, and I truly hope people aren't just jumping in right now and listening and thinking that again that my life is just so great. You know, many things that I'm dealing with, but at the end of the day, I think with this podcast, talking through things, working through things with you, has really been at least placing me in a better position to attack the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sort of like working out. You know, running a couple miles in the morning. You do that because now you know that your day can't get any worse than that. So,
well, a lot of the time, this podcast is almost better for me than therapy, just because I feel like I can express myself to someone who has a better understanding of what's behind it, and then who's been through the same toxic masculinity cycle, and we're trying to get out of that. And I don't know.
Well, the DSM-5, again, DSM-5, the therapist, not taking anything away from therapy, that's what I utilize, but I know what you mean. Kind of mold you, chart you down a path to diagnose you with something, right? When it's not as cookie cutter as that. Sorry to cut you off.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say, like, I've had, I don't know, just talking with somebody, like talking with strangers can be easier than talking with someone you know. That's why therapy's great, right? Like, as somebody who's not that committed. But then sometimes I have this thing where when I tell a story, I'm like, well, is that how it really happened? Or is that just me being dramatic? Am I analyzing everything and making it bigger than it was? Or that's what it was to me. So why does it matter if I'm making it bigger than what it was? Like, it could be small things that add up. It could be small things that get bigger. But I don't know. It's like sometimes maybe I just haven't had a really good therapist. Maybe that's what it is. And that's a good possibility too. Like when we had Waba on, sometimes you got to just move on and try a different therapist because the one that you have may not be the one for you. You know, that's why I like having guests on that have different backgrounds, that have different ways of looking at life, different viewpoints, because it makes me kind of see my own life from a different angle. And like, you know, talking to you and like how you kind of analyze that really helps too. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
And
no, thank you.
This is really, it is a different type of therapy for me. We're not mental health professionals. It's just peer support, right? You know, we don't want to pretend like we know all of the mental health background and stuff, but like peer support goes a long way too. And, you know, that's why AA and NA is so successful. That's why group work is so successful in substance dependency, right? And yeah, I guess I just wanted to kind of word vomit all over this and throw that out there, and I don't know where I was going, but
it's like kind of, I guess, something to leave everybody with. You know, it's, for me, therapy helped me to change my perspective, right? Perspective on things, because you can feel as if everything is against you, the world is crushing you. You know, that's what depression is. That's what, you know, then you start self-medicating, you start making yourself more susceptible to other mental health ailments, but for me, the one thing I heard really, you know, obviously there were many things that I heard to help me change my perspective, but one thing was, it's kind of like if you stepped in a room with 100 other people, right? And all of your, I hate saying issues, right? But for lack of a better word, all of your issues, right, were tangible things, right? And you were able to throw them in the middle of the floor. Everybody threw them in the middle of the floor. You know, you threw a cup, but that cup said like childhood abuse, right? You would scramble after seeing everybody else's. More times than not, you would scramble to pick yours back up, right? Just because, again, we don't understand what other people have been through. We don't understand, you know, obviously some of the grateful things that we do still have in our lives right now, because we continue to just focus on the negatives. But again, I don't want for people to think that, again, childhood abuse is something that you should accept. No, but just understanding that, again, with AA, my experience of a couple of group therapies that I went to, you know, there was a 17-year-old sitting next to me, right? I was 25 at the time, 26, 17-year-old sitting next to me. You know, at the moment, I'm complaining about getting in trouble, having a few misdemeanors on my record. 17-year-old had a couple felonies on the record and struggled with getting a job and had no family in the state at all. And I was just like, wow, you know?
Yeah.
Wow. Maybe I can handle this, you know? Maybe I can handle this. Again, I'm just blabbering right now, but you know, it's just that perspective, right? Perspective is everything. It really is.
That's what reality is. Reality is your own perception, right? How you perceive it.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, and hopefully that's not interpreted as I'm better than that person. It just,
no, it's just a reality, right?
Right.
I feel like we always do this, and we always try to have like a fun conversation, and then we go down the hole, and it ends up being really serious, and that's okay. That's okay. That's what we do. You know, once again, we're Untapped Keg, podcast about sobriety and mental health. That is Montee Ball. Where can they find you, Montee? You guys can find me at Montee Ball 28 on Twitter, Instagram, Montee Ball. Starbucks to get myself a medicine ball to kind of soothe this sickness, get this mucus out. Obviously, like Untapped Keg pages, send us messages, topics, all the above, and we would love your suggestions, who you want to see, all the above. Where are they going to find you, RJ? You can find me on Twitter at It's Trickster, ITZ. The I is the one in Trickster. Find us, Untapped Keg everywhere, all social media. untappedkeg@gmail.com. Send us an email. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know if you have topics for us to talk about. If you need to reach out, you need help, we'll be there with peer support. Try to put you in touch with somebody who can help if that's what you need. If you just want to talk, just reach out. We'll be there. We'll be ears. We'll be a shoulder. I want to thank Jenny for always being there in the chat too.
Oh yeah.
Appreciate that. Appreciate Roddy for being there, telling us what they know. And what were you gonna say, Mons?
No, I was just gonna say, I think another great thing to end on again is, and we've already stated it, and you stated it as well. Hopefully, people don't take this as we have all the answers, or that I have all the answers. So a lot of things I'm working through mentally, struggling with, but I'm alive. I'm awake. This therapy session was awesome, and be able to attack the week now.
Right. Yeah. Let's we're part of the Believe Podcast Network. Find us on all podcast platforms. Usually we have guests, but sometimes it's just us talking. Every once in a great while, we'll be able to just laugh and have a fun episode. Maybe that'll be the next one. But, our holidays were good. Holidays aren't always good for everyone. Reach out if you had a poor holiday and you need to get that off your chest. Like I said, we can be there and just be the people to listen to.
Yeah.
Hopefully everybody got out of their holiday unscathed, unharmed. Minimal is done and we can move forward, but let's try to be better tomorrow than we were today, because at least if we don't make it, we tried. Have a good week, everybody. Thank you.